Hello and welcome to my channel, Joanne Seal, where I show you how to make things and create new things. And today we will be making one of my cute girl paintings, which is a mixed media painting on a pre-prepared background. I haven't shown the preparation of this background and I will make one in another video. I also didn't show you the drawing part because I will be creating another video where we draw these sweet little girls. But this little girl, she's called Yin Yao, which means music in Mandarin, and she was inspired by a character in a game. It's called For Honor and I just discovered it, and I can't really play it because it's a bit too skilled but I really liked one of the characters and her outfits, her costumes and armor. So yeah, so I started by drawing the illustration, and I wanted to give her a little dog and have a tree in the background, and so I drew that on, and now I'm blocking it in with, I think it's either gesso or it's a white paint. So gesso is like a primer. It's a very thick and opaque white, which is why a lot of mixed media artists use it in their paintings, because they can completely block out sections and add a new material, a new media on top. So I'm just keeping within the drawn lines. As you can see, I'm not going over the pencil lines in order to keep the form and the shape. And I added this cute little dog. I've never drawn a dog before, and it was really nice and really sweet. Oh, you didn't see me colouring this bit. This was actually a yellow. It was possibly a very greeny yellow, but I decided I wanted to make red, but I decided I wanted to make it differently. I decided I wanted to add yellow first of all and then put magenta on top, because red is actually yellow and magenta mixed together. So yeah, it looks a bit orangey. I think I put 2 layers. I'm just making my tree now, and I decided to make it purple for some reason. I think I made another painting with a purple tree, and I decided I really liked having purple trunks. So I'm just using up some of the paint there. Whenever I've got spare paint, I start another background with it. So yeah, so to make her top a bit more red, I'm using some more magenta, or this might actually be a dark red, because I thought, oh, I don't want an orangey red, I wanted a blue red. So I mixed some of a red or a magenta with a little bit of blue to create a very, I don't know if it's got an actual name, but it's a blue red. It doesn't have a lot of yellow in. So yeah, you can see me mixing it to the side there. So yeah, if you want to copy this, I think I was adding some new music there. Or maybe someone called me, I don't know. So try using a base of yellow and then add some magenta. It has to be magenta, which is like a pinky colour on top, and you'll see that you can create reds that way. So now, sorry my hair's in the way. I haven't got my plaits in at the moment. I've got my natural hair, so I really want my plaits back. I just have to find time to get it done because it takes about 5 hours to do them. So I'm adding a detail onto her pockets, which this eventually becomes covered up because I thought it was too much detail. So I covered this up, and I decided that I wanted to give her what looks like a denim skirt, so I made it blue first of all, and then I'll go over it in other blues. I think I did that because it doesn't look like that at the end. I really enjoy layering colours. I really dislike it when something is one colour or one type of colour. So for example, I'm adding green to the background here, and this is 2 types of green that I'm adding. One's a lime green and the other one is a pastel green, and I really like a variation in colour. It adds more depth, it looks more interesting, and the 2 colours can really sort of buzz off of each other. So yeah, and green and purple go very well. Very well indeed. So yeah, and I basically wanted to help enhance the purple with the green, and vice versa, the purple will enhance the green too. So yeah, the background I made was just simple patterns. I'll show you how to make a background in another picture. So yeah, I'm adding more blue red now to give her dress, her top, more depth. And it's looking very red now. This is pretty much the red that I wanted. I really like blue red. It's got such depth to it. So yeah, I'm adding a bit more blue. I think this is indigo. This has got indigo added to it, so it's a bit more denim-y, because I think they dye. Do they not make denim with indigo? So yeah. And now I'm doing the little dog. I think for the dog I used Naples yellow hue mixed with a little bit of I think sienna, raw sienna. And Naples yellow hue is an absolutely gorgeous yellow. It's like a grey, a cream, like a custard yellow with a little bit of grey in. I don't know why I'm doing this. I think I decided to change the top colour once again. So I do this very often. I change the colour all the time, and as you change it, you add more depth. So I think maybe I made it pinky, more pink. Although the red was fine. I know what happened. I really enjoy using pastel shades in my paintings, and whenever I have a painting that's got too much intensity of colour, I really like to take down the intensity, add white, and make a pastel shade. That's exactly what I'm doing now. So I've added white to the blue to make a more pastel denim jeansy colour, and I've added white to my red to make a more pastel shade of red, because that's all pastel shades are. They're just, and even look, the purple, I actually quite like the purple as it is, but I think most of my paintings are pastel shades, so I think I wanted to stick with that. But who knows, one day I may make a more intense coloured painting. So yeah, I'm just going over things, adding more depth, and also creating more depth in the jeans, the denim skirt. And now I'm doing her legs, which is probably off camera, so I just and adding the detail back in again. You didn't see me adding her skin tones, so that was just raw sienna mixed with Naples yellow, I think. So, and a little bit of pink, little bit of skin tone as well. I wanted her to have quite yellowy, warm coloured skin, and not so pink, but it does have a little bit of pink in. So I'm just adding some detail to the pockets, and I didn't add as much detail to these pockets, so they don't have the little crescent shapes throughout the pocket. So adding the pockets to the denim skirt, so making it look more denim-y by adding some seams. Now I'm giving her blue hair, because blue hair is always good. So I'm actually using an acrylic ink for this. I like using ink and a paint together. Ink is more watercolour, it's more transparent, so you can see through it. So now I'm making her face. I'm adding my guidelines, and I give my sweet girls large eyes, a small nose, and quite largish lips. This is just a rough sketch. I'm more of a painter than a drawer, so I only do rough sketches with my drawings. It does take longer to paint when you don't complete the drawing underneath, but I'm always adjusting my paintings, so having a perfect sketch underneath is not necessarily something I need, because I'm constantly changing things. So I use a pen to make the pencil marks more permanent, because with pencil, as soon as you add paint, the water that you're using will wash away the graphite. So now I'm adding shading to her face. She has my sweet girls only have very light shading, so the contours of her face aren't very well defined. She basically has, I call them spoon heads. They're like a spoon, a wooden spoon, that sort of shape, with a tiny bit of contouring for the nose and the chin and the eyes and the cheeks, but by no means is it realistic. It's not supposed to be realistic. She's just supposed to look sweet, really. So I'm just doing the dog now, just doing his ears. I don't think I used any reference for this dog. I just decided that's how the dog's ears should be. I wanted them to flop over themselves at the front. Because I think I remember a cartoon when I was little and a dog looked like that. It could have been, is it Dastardly and Muttley, or was it something like that? I don't know. So yeah, I decided to give her some purple shading. It's always nice to use different colours in your shading, but I think this eventually became covered up. But it's amazing how you could use colours underneath other colours and they still come through. You're just not fully aware of the colour. It is there though, and that will now look a little bit warmer than if I hadn't used it at all. The shading is warmer because there are things like warm greys and cool greys, and it just depends on how much red and blue is in the grey, but they give different effects. So for skin tones, warm colours are good because they show the blood in the skin as far as I'm concerned, but the shadows, they need to be a bit more sort of bluish. So I think I was covering all bases there with my purple, which is a mixture of blue and red. So I did a bit more yellow. I like to put yellow. Something about skin that I really love doing. I like to put blood in it with the red, and I like to put yellow in it for sunshine. So my highlights tend to be very yellow, and then around the shading I put some red for the blood, around the nose as well. Anywhere where blood vessels come to the surface of the skin, or closer to the surface of the skin, needs to have a bit more red, because you see the blood in the blood vessels. So around the nostrils, kind of slightly on the forehead, on the neck. So I'm just adding some highlights. What I normally do is I'll start the painting a lot darker than it should be, and then I build up the highlights. I don't keep it light and then do the shading. I do it in the opposite direction because I find that I just really enjoy it. I really love adding highlights to make contours. It really, I don't know, the painting, what happens is I use very thin layers of paint, thin transparent layers of paint, which is why my paintings take so long, because I have to wait for each thin transparent layer to dry before I add another layer on top, and it slowly builds itself up. But what happens when you paint like that is light becomes trapped in between all the different layers of paint. I'm just adding a little blue dragon here to her dress, her top, because I wanted it to look a bit more sort of Chinese, and I know they have a lot of dragon symbolism, so I wanted to add a blue dragon. I'm just adding a bit more shading, and I decided to do the flowers in purple in order to sort of tie in with the colour of the tree trunks and branches. So I'm adding purple and blue, and I put many different layers of paint on top of each other to make these flowers. That's how I do most of my painting. I'll very rarely ever just do one layer of paint, one thick layer of paint in one colour. There's always many different colours. So now I'm adding some leaves, and I decided I wanted the leaves to be the same shape as the patterns in the background that you can see through the green, and I wanted them to be semi-transparent. So I've started them in an emerald green, which is also a transparent ink. It's the FW ink that you can see on the left, and I then mixed in some lime green to give it basically because I don't like things being one colour. So I went throughout the branches and I added the leaves, and then I changed some because I found that the leaves that were hanging down were causing too much contrast between the background and the foreground, and it was distracting. So all of those leaves that you can see hanging down, I made them lighter, so I pushed them back slightly. They weren't sort of fighting for your attention as much as they are now. And that's quite important when you paint, because you have to sort of draw people's eyes to certain areas, and if there's too much detail, things kind of get lost in the details all over. And I wanted the sort of the focus to be on her face and on the little dog. So now I'm lightening those leaves up. In fact, many of the leaves I lightened up, so it wasn't as contrasty. And so all of the contrast is in her face. That's where there's a lot of black and a lot of light colour. And that light and dark contrast is what focuses your eye in a painting. So I'm just in a little dog, adding his shading. He's so cute. I think I gave him a little bangle. So this is a very whimsical painting. So with whimsical, anything can go. It can be anything out of your imagination. Just as long as it's kind of sweet and kind of, I don't know, it's whimsical painting isn't supposed to challenge you. I don't think it's meant to just be pretty. So yeah. So I'm giving her some lipstick, and sorry about my hair. I recently cut my hair. I just trimmed it because look at all the straggly bits on it. They're really annoying me. And soon I'll have my plaits back. I just need to give my hair a rest from the plaits once in a while. Otherwise it pulls your hair out basically. So yeah, I'm just adding some deeper blacks to the to the features to make them stand out more. And another thing about painting is whatever colours you add, whatever tones you add, whatever values you add, it's always good to have black and white in the painting as well, because that gives the full range of spectrum of value, and I think it's more realistic that way. So I'm just adding some different purples to the flowers. It's a blue purple almost. Now I'm just making the leaves on the flowers a bit more green, a bit more of a yellow green. So they were very emerald green, which is a blue green. And I wanted a bit more yellow in it to match the background a bit more. I'm just going around the edges slightly here, just so that she doesn't really disappear into the background, and I cover up. Oh, I decided to write her name in Chinese, Yin Yao. I think that's how it's pronounced. It means music. And so I decided to make it look as if she'd sort of etched her name into the bark of the tree, which is very naughty, but she's not sweet all the time. So I'm just doing her arms, adding a bit more shading, and adding some highlights in the eyes and on the nose. And now I'm focusing on the lady, on the girl. Well, both of them at the same time. So this is just finishing off now, just doing all the little bits that need to be done. So he needed a lighter chest, a little dog, and a bit more shading. This dog is so cute. I'm going to try to draw more animals. I love animals and I draw them so rarely. But part of what made me want to draw and paint was because I was fascinated by the form of nature and animals, and I've done hardly any of them. I've mainly painted faces because faces are so complex. They're so hard. To paint them realistically is very hard, and so I thought I'd better concentrate on doing that and learning a little bit about anatomy and that sort of thing, although I'm not like fluent in anatomy at all. So I'm just giving her a little bow, little tiara-like a gold tiara-like bow in her hair, and sort of muting back the yellows. I think I added some Naples yellow to mute it back a bit, because it was too yellow and I didn't want the colours to be too intense. As I said before, I like pastel shades, so yeah. So she's nearly finished. Adding some highlights. And she's nearly complete. And she was really good fun to make. I really enjoy making these sweet girls. They're like, anything goes, really. I can add what I want to the painting because it's just it's from my imagination. And it can be as sweet and charming and whimsical as I like. I'm giving little dog his bracelet. It's a boy dog, he's got a bracelet. Anyway,